World's most expensive grill, man. Sauce Walker, Plug Geo, you dig?
I'm gonna take out the Johnny Danes and put in the Geos. I'm sorry.
Rappers are seriously losing it right now over wild claims that Johnny Dang was out here selling fake jewelry, and now the whole situation is blowing up in court. What started as one artist quietly switching jewelers has turned into a full-on scandal that's got the industry talking crazy. Now reputations are on the line, and this messy case is pulling back the curtain on a side of the jewelry game most people never get to see. From nothing to becoming the so-called king of bling, Johnny Dang's story is getting a second look, and not everyone is impressed anymore. Johnny Dang didn't even start in jewelry, which makes this whole thing even more shocking. He came to the United States from Vietnam with nothing, his own words, and built his first hustle selling TVs, radios, and candy out of a small Houston shop. Back then, people knew him as TV Johnny, way before the Diamond's fame and celebrity clients came into play. He was really out there grinding, moving product however he could, building connections, and flipping every dollar into the next move. That non-stop hustle pushed him into the jewelry world, especially grills, the diamond-covered dental pieces that became a huge symbol in hip-hop culture. Before long, Johnny Dang and company turned into a hotspot, where major artists pulled up to get iced out. Big names in the music industry trusted him with their image, and now people are questioning everything about that shine. Lil Wayne, Drake, Beyonce, Travis Scott, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Cardi B, Floyd Mayweather. The list sounds like straight-up pop culture royalty over the last 2 decades. By the time Johnny Dang locked in his reputation, artists were flying in from all over the country, some even pulling up on private jets just to sit across from him and explain the vision they had in mind. His team would take those ideas and bring them to life using 3D designs, mapping everything out before a single stone was even touched. Then came the real work, each diamond set by hand, piece by piece, until the final product was something nobody else on the planet could copy. Clients would walk out wearing creations that felt one of one in every sense. The price tags were just as wild as the designs. Some pieces started in the low thousands, but others shot way past $500,000 for a single item. His brand became deeply tied to hip-hop culture, showing up in music videos, on massive stages, and all over social media anytime an artist wanted to prove they really made it. Now enter Sauce Walker, real name Albert Walker Mundane. Born June 29th, 1990, and known across Houston for his bold image and loud presence.
I'm gonna take out the Johnny Danes and put in the Geos. I'm sorry. I'm taking out these and I'm upgrading to these.
He started rapping back in 2007 and climbed his way through the local scene, eventually running his own label, The Sauce Factory. His whole persona was built around flashy jewelry, big money energy, and street credibility. He even claims he helped push the word drip into mainstream hip-hop before it took over the culture completely. That image wasn't just talk either. He lived it through everything he wore and how he moved. Sauce Walker wasn't just any customer of Johnny Dang, he was one of the most loyal, long-term, high-spending clients out of Houston. According to him, their connection goes way back to when Johnny was still known as TV Johnny, hustling electronics and goods out of his shop before diamonds even entered the picture. In clips that have been spreading all over TikTok and Instagram, Sauce broke it down himself, telling the story in his own words, and that's where things start to get real interesting. He explained that he had known Johnny way back, during a time when guys in their circle were breaking into cars, taking radios, and then bringing them straight to Johnny to trade for gold grills and earrings. That's how far this relationship really goes back, way before fame, before big money, before any of the spotlight. This was street-level business, built from the ground up in a completely different era. As the years passed and both of them leveled up, the relationship grew right along with them. Sauce was spending big, and Johnny was delivering even bigger pieces. Every deal turned into a moment, blasted all over social media with captions made to show off just how far they had come. When Houston rap money linked with Houston jewelry craftsmanship, it created some of the most talked about flexes in the city. One of the craziest deals people still talk about is that $500,000 Cuban chain. The purchase was so massive, it reportedly had to be handled inside a Chase Bank branch instead of a normal setup. Johnny's team even posted it, calling it a monster piece, and letting the whole world watch it happen. Sauce wore that chain like it meant everything: loyalty, history, and status, all in one. It showed he had been rocking with Johnny since day one and was still spending at a level most people couldn't even imagine. And that wasn't the only time money was flying like that. There were shopping runs hitting $300,000 in a single visit, loaded with VVS earrings, custom rings, full grill sets, and pieces designed to match the kind of jewelry Floyd Mayweather was known for wearing. Sauce even put a number on it himself.
Nothing. We went from 100,000 to 1 million. You know what I'm saying?
Saying he spent somewhere around $500,000 total over time, and Johnny made sure to show that love right back, posting the purchases, highlighting Sauce as a top client, and turning every deal into a win for both of their names in Houston. For a long time, this system worked perfectly, and nobody questioned it. It was one of those partnerships that made Houston feel like it had its own ecosystem. Two people from the same streets building something powerful together. A rapper and a jeweler, both rising from the same environment, turning hustle into status and influence. But somewhere between 2024 and 2026, something clearly shifted, and it wasn't small. Sauce Walker started looking for something bigger, something louder. He wanted a grill that would completely reset the bar, not just for himself, but for the entire Texas scene. He was ready to spend more than ever before, but instead of going back to Johnny Dang, he made a move nobody saw coming. He took his vision to someone else entirely, a jeweler named Jose J. Mata, better known in the industry as Plug Gio. Now here's where it gets even more serious. Plug Gio wasn't some random name. He had direct history with Johnny Dang's operation, a former associate and ex-employee who had branched off to build his own competing business right there in Houston. So when Sauce walked into his shop instead, it wasn't just business, it felt personal. That move alone sent a message, and it landed loud across the industry. This wasn't just switching jewelers anymore. This was the kind of decision that sparks tension instantly. And Sauce didn't keep it low-key either. He turned the whole thing into a moment. He didn't just post a quick photo and move on. He staged it, recorded it, and made sure the entire internet could watch it unfold step by step. In a clip that spread fast across social media, Sauce Walker sat down on camera and actually removed his Johnny Dang grills right out of his mouth in front of everyone watching.
How many rappers you put the chain on and they walked out this hole? Not with it though. Exactly. I see you put it on a lot of rappers. You tried to make a lot of people buy it, and then they took it.
Then he set them aside and put in the brand new set made by Plug Gio, all while talking through it like he already knew exactly how this would hit. It wasn't random, it felt planned, controlled, and meant to make noise. The kind of move only someone with years of building a public image knows how to pull off perfectly. And then came the line that really stuck with people. I'm sorry. But the way he said it, that didn't feel like regret at all. It came off more like a statement, almost like he was closing a chapter without looking back. That one moment hit like a final stamp on a decision he had already made, and he delivered it with the calm energy of someone who wasn't second-guessing anything. The word upgrading hit the hardest out of everything he said. It wasn't just about switching jewelers, it felt like he was ranking them, putting one above the other in front of the whole world. A straight-up public statement that what Plug Gio made for him was on a completely different level than anything Johnny Dang had ever put in his mouth. And the new piece? It wasn't regular at all. It was being called the world's first permanent $1 million grill. We're talking massive stones, 3-carat and 1-carat diamonds, all set in rose gold, shining in a way that's impossible to ignore. But what really made people stop and stare was this. It wasn't designed to come out. This wasn't something you take off at the end of the day. It was built to stay in his mouth permanently, locked in as a lifelong statement piece. Then came the price, and it made everything even louder. According to Sauce himself, this grill cost more than 10 times what his previous one did. At that point, it wasn't just about buying jewelry anymore. He was flipping the entire narrative of what's possible in the Texas jewelry scene, and he made sure to do it in a way that kept Johnny Dang tied to the past while he pushed forward into something way bigger. But the switch was only part of the story. The real explosion came from what Sauce said next. That's what turned this from a simple business move into a full-blown scandal people couldn't ignore. He accused Johnny Dang of selling lab-grown diamonds, CVD stones made in a lab using a chemical vapor deposition process, while presenting them to clients as natural mined diamonds. That's not a small claim, and he didn't frame it like a misunderstanding either. To Sauce, this was straight-up betrayal, the kind that hits harder because it involves years of trust and huge amounts of money spent over time. We're talking about a relationship built over decades, with hundreds of thousands of dollars involved, and now all of it was being questioned in public. And the timing made it even louder, because this dropped right into an ongoing debate that's been heating up in the jewelry world for years. Here's the reality. Lab-grown diamonds are chemically identical to natural ones. Same hardness, same carbon structure, same shine when the light hits them. To the naked eye, most people can't even tell the difference. But the price? That's where everything changes. A 1-carat natural diamond can cost thousands, while a lab-grown version of the same size might only be a few $100s. So in a market where people are paying top dollar for the status and rarity of natural stones, that difference isn't small, it's everything. It's not just about how it looks, it's about what you're actually paying for. And if a jeweler is charging natural diamond prices while using lab-grown stones without making that clear, that becomes a serious issue. That's the exact question Sauce Walker just threw into the spotlight, and now everybody's paying attention. And this didn't come from just anybody. That's what made it hit so hard. This was Sauce Walker, a Houston figure with nearly 20 years publicly tied to Johnny Dang's brand. That kind of history gave his words weight that a random internet rumor could never match. Then Plug Gio stepped in and made things even louder. Jose Gio Mata didn't stay quiet. He publicly backed Sauce Walker and added his own side of the story. He framed his departure from Johnny Dang's circle as more than just business, saying he had been underpaid while helping bring in millions for the shop.
You buy jewelry everywhere in LA with my boy Cap in New York. It's all good, it's all love. Everyone needs to make money.
But he didn't stop there. He also claimed that lab-grown stones had been presented as natural diamonds, even mentioning certifications being involved. That added a whole new layer to everything because now it wasn't just a customer speaking, it was someone who had actually worked inside the operation. That insider angle made the situation feel way more serious. It stopped sounding like outside noise and started looking like a potential expose coming from people who knew how things worked behind the scenes. When you combine Sauce Walker's public influence, Gio's insider claims, and the already heated debate around lab-grown versus natural diamonds, it created the perfect storm. The story didn't just spread, it exploded across the internet. YouTube titles started popping up everywhere. Rappers expose Johnny Dang. Rappers go off on Johnny Dang. Johnny Dang's Houston store raided. Social media ran wild with it. Some posts claimed his flagship store had been raided by authorities. Others said he had been arrested. There were even rumors flying around that his entire $200 million empire was about to collapse. The story was moving so fast that people couldn't keep up, and the truth started getting mixed in with a whole lot of claims that weren't confirmed. At all, Mayweather got brought into the conversation too, and Sauce wasn't backing off at all. He doubled down hard. He made it clear this wasn't some small customer complaining online. This was someone claiming he had spent at a level comparable to Floyd Mayweather and still felt like he got done wrong. That statement alone carried a heavy implication. It suggested that Johnny Dang's client list might not be as solid as it looked on the surface. Like maybe, behind all the shine and big names, there were people who eventually walked away unhappy. And Sauce pushed it even further, hinting that by speaking out publicly, he was just saying what others had already been saying behind closed doors. Whether that's true or not didn't even matter at that point, because the story had already taken off and people were locked in. At that stage, Johnny Dang couldn't stay silent anymore. He had to respond. But when he finally spoke, he didn't jump straight into breaking down the fraud accusations. Instead, he made it personal. The videos he posted on Instagram came in multiple parts, and they didn't feel like some polished PR response carefully written by a team. There was no corporate tone, no scripted energy. It felt raw, direct, and emotional, like someone speaking straight from how they felt in that moment. No filter, no middleman, just Johnny Dang looking into the camera and letting it all out in real time. Watching that opening line told you everything about the direction he was about to go. He didn't start with a denial, and he didn't come out with some legal-sounding statement either. He started with the relationship. He brought up the 20 years, the history, the connection they built over time, and made it clear he felt that Bond had been disrespected in front of the entire internet. That was the core of his message right away. He kept pointing back to the foundation, almost like he wanted people to remember where all of this started. To him, this was never about favors or handouts. It was always business. Real transactions, real money, mutual respect on both sides. And by saying that, he was also pushing back hard against any idea that Sauce had been overcharged or taken advantage of. He was making it clear that everything between them had always been fair in his eyes. In Johnny's version of events, the relationship was always clean, always mutual, no hidden moves behind the scenes. He even pointed out that Sauce had spent money with other jewelers in different cities before, and it was never a problem back then. So to him, this sudden public switch wasn't about business. It felt like something else entirely. The issue, at least from Johnny's side, wasn't the switch itself. That wasn't what really hit him. The real problem was the name dropping. The way his name got tied directly into the transition, making it seem like he had failed Sauce, misled him, or given him something less than what was promised. That was the line everything in his response kept circling back to. He didn't focus on saying the accusations are false, and he didn't start pulling out certifications or legal talk. Instead, the message came through loud and clear: put some respect on my name. And when he brought up his story, it wasn't random, it was intentional. Johnny went back to the beginning to remind people of the full journey. Coming to America from Vietnam with nothing, selling TVS and candy, working his way step by step into the jewelry business, then building a brand that ended up putting diamonds on some of the biggest names in global culture. That backstory wasn't just history, it was part of his defense. It was him showing everything he had built from the ground up, piece by piece. And now, after all those years, he was watching someone he had known for 2 decades stand in front of a camera and use his name in a way that made it seem like he had been selling fake jewelry. That's what made the situation feel personal, and that's what gave his response so much emotion. That I'm not perfect. That line stood out more than people expected. It wasn't some bold claim of being flawless, he actually admitted he wasn't. But at the same time, he made it clear he believed he had always been honest and operated with integrity, even if everything wasn't perfect along the way. Then came one of the quieter, but more powerful moves in his response. Johnny posted a video of the grill he said Sauce Walker was originally supposed to get from him. He didn't turn it into some loud clap, back, or over-the-top response. He just showed it, plain and simple, the design, the diamonds, the level of craftsmanship, and let people come to their own conclusions. The message didn't need to be said out loud. It felt like he was showing, this is what I had ready for you. This is what you chose to walk away from. And behind all the public drama, he claimed there had already been attempts to fix things privately. Conversations, meetings, even sitting down over dinner to talk business and possibly collaborate again. According to Johnny, all of that happened before anything went public. But in his version of the story, Sauce didn't choose to keep it private. He chose the camera instead, and that decision is what turned a private situation into a public situation that everyone is now watching unfold. The way he broke down the grill design became its own kind of defense, and it hit differently. He wasn't even talking about lab-grown versus natural diamonds at that moment. He shifted the focus completely to craftsmanship. He started explaining the precision behind it all, the sizing, the weight distribution, how the piece would actually sit in someone's mouth over time without causing damage. That level of detail wasn't casual. It sounded like someone defending their professional standards in real time. This wasn't just about jewelry anymore. It was about pride in his work. He was showing that even for a client who ended up walking away, he still approached the piece with the same level of care and attention. And then came another detail that surprised people. He said the new grill he made was actually done for free, a gesture meant to smooth things over, a peace offering to fix whatever tension was building. But even that wasn't enough to stop everything from falling apart. Then he finally addressed the CVD accusations directly. Not with documents, not with experts, not with technical breakdowns, just a straight denial. The way he said it came off more like frustration than anything else. Like he didn't even see the claim as something worth debating on a technical level. He wasn't trying to argue details, he was rejecting the entire idea outright. His shift from denying the CVD claims back to talking about community and his roots wasn't random, it was very intentional. He was redirecting the whole narrative away. From jeweler, accused of fraud, and back to Houston figure who built everything from nothing and still gives back. That move changed how people heard him. It pulled the focus off technical accusations and put it back on his story, his reputation, and everything he had built over the years. And that one line, "put some respect on my name," that became the moment everyone locked onto. It got clipped, reposted, quoted everywhere because it hit deeper than just jewelry talk. It wasn't really about diamonds anymore at that point. It was about legacy, about what 20 years of work is supposed to mean, about what it feels like to have your name suddenly tied to something you don't believe represents you at all. That line carried the emotion of everything he was trying to say in one shot. But while all of this was playing out publicly between him and Sauce Walker, something else started building in the background, and it took things to a whole different level. A second wave of content started spreading, and this time it wasn't even rooted in reality. According to reports from Fox 26 Houston in April 2026, Johnny Dang found himself dealing with a surge of hyper-realistic, AI-generated deepfake videos popping up across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. These clips looked convincing, felt real, and started spreading fast, adding a whole new layer of confusion and chaos to a situation that was already out of control. These weren't simple fan edits or obvious jokes you could laugh off. These were fully fabricated clips and stories that looked real enough to fool anyone casually scrolling, and the timing made it worse. People were already locked into the Sauce Walker drama, so their minds were primed to believe something serious was going down with Johnny's business. The fake content pushed wild claims. Some said his Houston flagship store had been raided by authorities. Others went even further, saying he had been arrested. And then there were videos talking about federal fraud investigations, using language that sounded polished. Official, almost like it came straight from a real news report. Headlines like Johnny Dang's Houston store raided and Johnny Dang arrested for selling rappers fake jewelry started spreading fast, the kind of speed you only see when people are already paying attention and already halfway convinced something might be true. And that's what made it dangerous, because even though those specific claims weren't verified, the tension behind the situation was real. Sauce Walker's accusations had already created doubt, already made people question things. So when these fake stories showed up, they didn't feel completely out of nowhere, they felt possible. That's how quickly things can spiral when perception starts taking over. Johnny Dang didn't stay quiet about it either. He pushed back hard. He called the raid and arrest stories bullshit and fake news in his own posts and videos. He directly called out the people spreading them, accusing them of trying to tear him down. And he made it clear to his audience, don't believe anything that doesn't have a real source behind it. No official reports, no confirmed statements, no credible news coverage. Don't trust it. Behind the scenes, his team also started taking action, flagging misleading videos, reporting them, and pushing platforms to remove content that was spreading false information. But by that point, the situation had already taken on a life of its own, and stopping it wasn't going to be easy. And here's the part that really cuts through all the noise. No mainstream news outlet confirmed any raid, any arrest, or any active fraud investigation at all. No police department statements, no court filings showing up in public records, nothing from credible Houston news organizations that would normally cover something that's serious happening in the city. The only thing actually reported by Fox 26 wasn't a crime, it was the deepfake problem itself. The real headline wasn't Johnny Dang raided, it was that Johnny Dang was dealing with AI-generated misinformation spreading online. That's a completely different story, but it didn't travel nearly as fast, because it didn't give people the dramatic ending they were already expecting. It didn't match the tension that had been building from the Sauce Walker situation, and that's the bigger issue hiding underneath all of this. The speed and reach of those fake stories say a lot about where hip-hop culture and social media are right now. A real dispute, Sauce Walker switching grills, turned into something way bigger almost overnight. The jump from a real situation to headlines like Johnny Dang arrested or store raided happened in days. That's how fast things can flip now, where a real moment creates just enough doubt for completely made-up stories to slide in and feel believable. And the engine behind all of this wasn't traditional journalism or even regular gossip. It was AI-generated content built to look like real reporting, dropped right into an already heated conversation, and then boosted by algorithms chasing clicks and watch time. That's what made it so powerful. It didn't start the fire, but it poured gasoline on it at the perfect moment. But underneath all the chaos, there's a deeper debate that didn't start with Sauce Walker and won't end when the viral moment fades. The real issue is the ongoing clash between natural and lab-grown diamonds, something that's been reshaping the entire jewelry industry for years. Let's be clear, lab-grown diamonds are not fake in the scientific sense. They are real diamonds. Same chemical structure, same look, same durability when you test them. The only difference is how they're made. One comes out of the ground through expensive, time-consuming mining. The other is created in a controlled lab environment at a fraction of the cost. And that price gap is huge. A natural 1-carat diamond might run $4,000 to $5,000, while a lab-grown version of the same size could cost just a few $100s on the open market. That shift has changed everything. Lab-grown stones give buyers access to bigger, cleaner diamonds without the massive price tag. And for some people, the ethical side, questions around mining practices, makes them even more appealing. But here's where things take a turn. In hip-hop jewelry culture, it's not just about how a diamond looks, it's about what it represents. Status isn't only shine, it's cost, rarity, and what it says about the person wearing it. A diamond that costs $4,000 and one that costs $400 might look identical, but they don't carry the same meaning in that world. And that difference, that's where the real tension starts to build. They don't carry the same social meaning in a culture built on showing success out loud, even if, under a microscope, they look exactly the same. And Johnny Dang himself has actually acknowledged this reality before. In a legitimate 2025 interview with KHOU Houston, he pointed out that many rapper clients specifically want natural diamonds and see lab-grown stones as lesser, even if they aren't technically fake. That mindset is real, and it shapes the entire market. If you look at his business, it reflects that too. His website promotes GIA-certified natural diamonds for high-end pieces, while also offering lab-grown options at lower price points. So the presence of both isn't hidden. It's part of the business model. But here's where Sauce Walker's accusation hits differently. He wasn't just saying lab-grown diamonds are bad. He was claiming something much more serious, that he had been paying natural diamond prices for lab-grown stones without being told. That's not a preference debate anymore. That's a completely different level of accusation. If something like that were proven true, it could shift from a disagreement about taste into something with real legal consequences, but as of early April 2026, there hasn't been verified proof made public. No certified gemologist has released confirmed test results on Sauce Walker's pieces. No independent lab analysis has been published for people to review. And just as important, no legal case has been filed between Sauce and Johnny over these claims. Everything so far has played out on social media, with clips, statements, and reactions driving the entire narrative. Even looking back, discussions in older online spaces like Reddit have questioned Johnny Dang's tone quality before, but those were always anecdotal stories, not verified findings, and that distinction matters, especially in a situation this serious or just rival shade, nothing you could actually prove. Some of those older discussions question things like smaller diamonds in detailed pieces or whether certain items were overpriced for the quality, but none of it ever turned into verified findings, and none of it escalated into anything legal. What changed in 2026 was the scale. Those quiet whispers didn't stay quiet anymore. They got amplified into a full-on roar. And it wasn't random. It was powered by Sauce Walker's name, Plug Geo's insider claims, and a wave of AI-generated content that made everything feel bigger, louder, and more confirmed than the actual evidence ever showed. That combination made the story hit differently. It gave the impression that something definitive had been exposed, even though the facts never fully caught up to that level of certainty. So, where does all of this actually land? The title asks a direct question. Did rappers confront Johnny Dang in court over fake jewelry? And the honest answer after breaking everything down is no. Not in the way people online were making it seem. What actually happened is both simpler and more complicated at the same time. This was a very public Houston rap and jewelry conflict. It came from a real 20-year relationship, real money being spent, real emotions, and a real disagreement about value and trust. Sauce Walker did walk into a competing jeweler, spend around $1 million on a new grill, and publicly frame it as an upgrade while mentioning Johnny Dang on camera. That part is real, and the fallout, that's real too. And it's still not fully resolved. But the extra layer, the arrests, the raids, the dramatic headlines, that part wasn't grounded in verified facts. That was built by AI-generated content and social media amplification stacking on top of a real situation and pushing it into something way more extreme than the evidence ever supported. No store was raided, no arrest happened, and no court case was ever filed. That part is clear when you actually look at what's been verified. Fox 26 Houston didn't report a police action, they reported on the AI deepfake problem. That's a huge difference even if it didn't spread as fast online. And that court people kept talking about in titles and viral clips, it wasn't a real courtroom. It was the court of public opinion, and that's real in its own way. It can shape reputations, influence audiences, and create pressure. But it's not the same as a criminal case or a civil lawsuit with evidence and rulings. The idea that multiple rappers came together to confront Johnny Dang, filing complaints and exposing fake jewelry on a large scale, that didn't happen in any verified or documented way. Sauce Walker was the center of the story. Plug Geo supported him as a former insider. And a lot of the other names you saw in thumbnails, those were mostly reaction clips, not independent accusations backed by proof. Some of the biggest artists connected to Johnny Dang haven't even spoken out. Lil Wayne has still been seen wearing Johnny's pieces. Drake hasn't made any public statement about the situation. And other major clients like Travis Scott, Cardi B, and Gucci Mane haven't released verified claims accusing him during this entire wave. That silence matters, especially when the internet is trying to paint a much bigger picture. So when you strip away all the noise, the viral posts, the AI-generated clips, the dramatic headlines, what you're left with is something much more human. This is what happens when a decades-long business relationship breaks down in public. In a space like hip-hop, where loyalty, money, image, and pride are all tied together, situations like this don't stay quiet, they explode. On one side, Sauce Walker clearly feels like after 20 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, he didn't get what he deserved. On the other side, Johnny Dang feels like someone he trusted and built with, turned around and publicly disrespected everything he worked for. That clash right there, that's the real story underneath everything else. His shop is still open, his social media is still active, and he's still dropping new custom pieces like nothing stopped. He's out here responding to critics with that same mix of frustration and pride he's carried since the early days, back when he was selling TVs out of a small Houston shop and nobody even knew his name yet. Through all the noise, all the rumors, and all the viral chaos, he's still standing on what he built. If you found this story wild, surprising, or just straight up unbelievable, make sure you tap in with more content like this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can see what's really going on. And drop a comment below letting me know what you think about the whole situation. Was this a misunderstanding or something deeper? Check out the other videos on your screen right now for more stories just like this, and I'll catch you in the next one. Sauce Walker was the center of the story. Plug Geo supported him as a former insider, and a lot of the other names you saw in thumbnails, those were mostly reaction clips, not independent accusations backed by proof. Some of the biggest artists connected to Johnny Dang haven't even spoken out. Lil Wayne has still been seen wearing Johnny's pieces. Drake hasn't made any public statement about the situation. And other major clients like Travis Scott, Cardi B, and Gucci Mane haven't released verified claims accusing him during this entire wave. That silence matters, especially when the internet is trying to paint a much bigger picture. So when you strip away all the noise, the viral posts, the AI-generated clips, the dramatic headlines, what you're left with is something much more human. This is what happens when a decades-long business relationship breaks down in public. In a space like hip-hop, where loyalty, money, image, and pride are all tied together, situations like this don't stay quiet, they explode. On one side, Sauce Walker clearly feels like after 20 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, he didn't get what he deserved. On the other side, Johnny Dang feels like someone he trusted and built with, turned around and publicly disrespected everything he worked for. That clash right there, that's the real story underneath everything else. His shop is still open, his social media is still active, and he's still dropping new custom pieces like nothing stopped. He's out here responding to critics with that same mix of frustration and pride he's carried since the early days, back when he was selling TVs out of a small Houston shop and nobody even knew his name yet. Through all the noise, all the rumors, and all the viral chaos, he's still standing on what he built. If you found this story wild, surprising, or just straight up unbelievable, make sure you tap in with more content like this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can see what's really going on, and drop a comment below letting me know what you think about the whole situation. Was this a misunderstanding or something deeper? Check out the other videos on your screen right now for more stories just like this, and I'll catch you in the next one. Gucci Mane haven't released verified claims accusing him during this entire wave. That silence matters, especially when the internet is trying to paint a much bigger picture. So when you strip away all the noise, the viral posts, the AI-generated clips, the dramatic headlines, what you're left with is something much more human. This is what happens when a decades-long business relationship breaks down in public. In a space like hip-hop, where loyalty, money, image, and pride are all tied together, situations like this don't stay quiet, they explode. On one side, Sauce Walker clearly feels like after 20 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, he didn't get what he deserved. On the other side, Johnny Dang feels like someone he trusted and built with, turned around and publicly disrespected everything he worked for. That clash right there, that's the real story underneath everything else. His shop is still open, his social media is still active, and he's still dropping new custom pieces like nothing stopped. He's out here responding to critics with that same mix of frustration and pride he's carried since the early days, back when he was selling TVs out of a small Houston shop and nobody even knew his name yet. Through all the noise, all the rumors, and all the viral chaos, he's still standing on what he built. If you found this story wild, surprising, or just straight up unbelievable, make sure you tap in with more content like this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can see what's really going on, and drop a comment below letting me know what you think about the whole situation. Was this a misunderstanding or something deeper? Check out the other videos on your screen right now for more stories just like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.